Hello, everybody. It's me, Ross, and welcome to another edition of the Kings of Anglia Fans Social, where town fans have their say on all things town. And well, we had liftoff last week, and of course at Accrington, our dreams were just dashed as we lost once again at the Wham Stadium. But still a lot of positivity to be made, a lot of debates and discussions to be made as well. So get ready for another fantastic fan social. We're joined by four fine gentlemen in Henry, making his debut, the Sweet Welsh Prince in Harvey, John Watson, who is very much my host at Accrington, and also Bloomers, who is, I'm sure, going to bring a lot of debates on today's show. So let's go over to Henry first. Welcome to the show, my friend. Introduce yourself and your opening thoughts on the defeat against Accrington. We had liftoff, but unfortunately, Accrington stopped that train basically going on more.
Yeah, thanks, Ross. Cheers. It was a back down to earth. It was a bit of reality, really, wasn't it? Again, it was a good start, and I thought maybe after the Bonds goal could be similar to Lincoln, 1-0, hold out first 10 minutes of the second half. I managed to maybe counter, get a second, and finish the game off there. Bonds goal was great again. Great pressure from Fraser into Selena. Across the bond, two-touch finish, great stuff. Again, second half, two goals fairly similar to themselves. Down our left, not putting enough pressure on the ball into the box. First one was a little bit lucky, get through to Colby Bishop, deflection over top of Hilaki, if that's his name, how you say it properly. And then second one, Pell was good first-time finish, but again, a bit too easy to get inside the box. Crosses into the box must be high percentage of goals come from there. Just disappointing. Really, really disappointing, essentially. That's the main word I'd say from that result.
Yeah, very disappointing. And said, bringing us back down to earth after the highs of the 6-0 win and then going all the way to Accrington. And Harvey, the Sweet Welsh Prince, was there with his good old dad, Terry. And Harvey, it was luckily it wasn't as wet as forecast. It was going to be very wet in that open terrace, but it just rained a tiny bit. Unfortunately, you witnessed another defeat. You went to the Burton game. We saw a 2-1 defeat there, and you saw another 2-1 defeat. Your opening thoughts on the, sorry to say defeat once again, because it was a defeat again against Accrington.
Yeah, evening all. Welcome, Henry, as well. Nice to have, another newbie on the pod. My opening thoughts. I mean, it's difficult to kind of narrow it down into what went wrong, really, because it was just from start to finish. I mean, I've had the pleasure of standing next to John throughout the whole game, and I think after about 15 minutes, me and John looked at each other and just said, "God, what a dreadful start it's been." Just the game lacked so much quality, and that was the common theme of the whole game, really. We didn't deserve anything from it. I was shocked when we went 1-0. We did not deserve to go 1-0. Luckily, we've got players that can score at any point. That's the good thing about having such a big squad in this league. Even when you're playing poorly, you can score goals. So it's such a disappointing performance. What the concerning thing about that for me was we just didn't look up for it. We looked like a team who had got a really good 6-0 victory against Donny on the Tuesday, and just thought, "Oh, it's only Accrington. We've taken off now. This is going to be straightforward from here." And it was just the second balls. A lot's been made about their tactics and stuff, which isn't the nicest of tactics, but they've got every right to do what they want essentially at their ground. And it was just wasn't good enough. It really wasn't good enough. And if we want to get out of this league, then we're gonna have to win games like that, because there's going to be plenty more ugly games in that league. Harry Pell was a constant pest all game. I think the highlight of that game for me was John giving him pelters for 90 minutes, which probably says a lot about the game. Colby Bishop, I've mentioned him a few times before. I just love watching him play. I think he's absolutely class. His hold-up play is fantastic in this league. Even when he doesn't necessarily score goals, he just holds players off for fun. So to sum it up, really disappointed. we didn't deserve to win the game. The passing was just slow. It was like it was. And I hate to say this, but it was like watching the Paul Lambert team at times. You know, when he used to pass out from the back, and it would be Wolfie to the right back, and then and then Enciala to the left back, and it was depressing. It really was. I never want to go to the Wham Stadium again, but no doubt I'll be there again if we play them. But yeah, we need to try and get a run together now. I know we've not had the worst results in the last few games, but yeah, Saturday wasn't good enough, and I'm glad Cook came out in his interview and said exactly the same thing, because anyone watching that, you know, the atmosphere was so flat, and as Town fans are so known for bringing such an atmosphere, but the away end was really flat, and I do not blame them whatsoever, because we witnessed absolute dross, to be honest with you.
Yeah, my only highlight of that weekend is, of course, staying around John Watson's house, his castle in Donny. 5 stars on the TripAdvisor rating. His wife, Deb, did a fantastic spread in the morning. And then his twins made me and Liam from Crew cake. So we had a good weekend, minus the football. John, thanks once again for hosting me and Liam. But your opening thoughts on the defeat against Accrington. And as I said, luckily we didn't get as wet as forecast.
Yeah, thanks for having me on as always, Ross. Good to see everybody, and welcome to Henry too. It was a pleasure to spend the game standing with Harvey and Terry and Segs and some of the other game day regulars, and caught with Mark and Mike and that kind of thing. But obviously spent the day in the car with your good self, Ross and Liam, and enjoyed that. The football was was the disappointing thing about the weekend. It was even worse than the weather, which says something. I agree with what Harvey said about the game. We got what we deserved, which was pretty much nothing. And I actually said, Harvey, on game day straight afterwards, it reminded me of watching Ipswich under Lambert. So that's quite depressing, and we both felt that as well, because we don't want to go back to those days ever again. But what we've got to do is keep that in context that we did win a game 4 days previously, 6-0 against a very poor Donny, but we still won that game. So let's have a little bit of balance. Speaking about the lovely Deb, she just brought me a cup of tea, Ross. So the hosting just continues just as always. So, you know,
No
she'll
surprise.
get big-headed in a minute. But for me, the most disappointing thing of the actual game was I expected, it was the first time I've seen Morsey play live, and I was expecting him with Burgess and Edmondson behind to suddenly provide this real strong bank of controlled aggression and backbone to the team. And unfortunately, I didn't see that much of it. I thought Morsey was one of the better players, and he tried to break through their midfield more than anybody else. But overall, we're just lackluster. Pell really got underneath my skin, so I was giving him pelters. I just not necessarily horrible, just calling him lanky and rubbish and shouting Pell, because he epitomised shithousery. He had his hands all over Hladky. He was pushing people. At one point, I don't know if you remember in the match, Harvey, when Edmondson just turned, he went in and just put his elbow right in the bottom of Edmondson's back, and you know, that was absolutely uncalled for. And if I was on that pitch, I would have given him some as well. I would have sent him in the air a few times, and he just got underneath my skin. And somebody probably would have had to hold me back, because I don't mind people being physical. But I thought that kick out the stadium, that the ball went over the sailing over the roof, just to kind of out of nothing. You just think, you absolute idiot. But he was probably doing his gamesmanship, and he was probably told to do that to stop us from playing. And as Harvey said, that is their right. But what we didn't do is earn the right to win that game. We didn't win enough battles. You know, if you look on the pitch, I was a little bit, I normally agree with Andy Warren in his match ratings, of player ratings, sorry. And I actually thought that Janoi had a really good first half, and I thought he was possibly our player of the first half. And then he got one of the lowest scores. I have watched the highlights, and he was slightly at fault for the goal, so I can see that. But we weren't bad in the first half, in the sense of any worse than them, but we just weren't any good. It was just a poor game. But then, as Harvey rightly said, we took this. Bond took his chance, and we were suddenly 1-0 up, and we were like, really 1-0? That we'll take that. And then you expect us, like Henry said, to maybe come out and give a Lincoln type second half where we have our solid banks, and we not necessarily a 4, because I know it's going to be 4-2-3-1 forever. But players doing their disciplined job and winning those battles. And for me, they probably won 8 out of 11 battles, maybe 10. So did we get what we deserve? Yeah, probably. The other two things I'd just like to briefly say is, I guess the cliche of, I hope we look back on this in a few months' time, or certainly in April and May, and think we learned something after beating Donny so easily that we can't just turn up to games. And I know it's a cliche, and you hope they'll learn, but I do hope in months to come we can look back and go, actually, that one defeat at Accrington brought them back down to earth and showed us that we weren't there yet, and we had to really have the right attitude in training and in games, because maybe Harvey's right, maybe we just rocked up and expected to win and didn't earn that right. So the only other thing I would like to say is it was an absolute pleasure to briefly speak to Paul Cook at the end of the game, because we were sharing a car. Ross, you were doing your upload of game day, and me and Liam were sitting outside. It was raining, so we stopped hanging around the team coach, and I spoke to a couple of players briefly, but not in the kind. There's lots of people getting shirts signed, and I'm sure they were trying to sell them for money afterwards. So we saw Toto wandering around trying to get a lift with somebody else, and then I had my window down a little bit, and I heard what I thought was like a two-tone voice, and I thought that must be Cookie. So. And then suddenly this car appeared, and I saw it was him. So I jumped out of the car, and I think he thought he was going to be accosted at first. But I just undid my zippy, and you could see my episode shirt. And then Liam was following me in his salmon pink top, and he wound down his window, and he gave us maybe 2-3 minutes of his time, and excuse the French, but he just said, it was a fucking shit performance, wasn't it, lads? I'm so sorry. That was the synopsis, and he said it won't be happening again. And I just said to him, yeah, really disappointing. I expected more. And he said, we all did. I didn't see it coming, but we'll be better. We'll be better. Trust me on that. And, you could see the hunger in his eyes. You could see he meant it, but he also was really level with us and said, well done to you, and not me personally, but all of the fans for that kind of support, because it was a crap day to go to. As Harvey said, the Wham Stadium, my God, we've got some bad memories of that in the last few years, and none of us are going to go, woo, let's go back there again in a hurry. But I enjoyed having that little exchange with Paul Cook. He gave us a little fist bump and thanked us for our travels and wished us a safe journey home. And I thought that was he came across as exactly the way you would expect him to be, sound, but I got the sense of frustration and anger and hunger. So I hope listening to Morsey's comments, which I'm sure we'll mention, and then thinking about Cook, the next few games are massive, and we'll go on to talk about Shrewsbury and other games. But I think such a disappointing result, and we ended up having 2 wins out of 10. Is it?
Yeah, the record doesn't look great. Well, John, as ever, fantastic. I'm going to go over to the final man that is joining us this week, and that is Bloomers, who was part of the, well, you can say the most negative fan social of all time after the Bolton defeat. But of course, we did lose 5-2. So it was always going to be very negative. Bloomers, welcome back to the show. Unfortunately, you're coming back on the show with another defeat. What's your opening thoughts? And hopefully you're going to segue into the other bits and bobs that happened against Accrington, the Cook comments, the Morsey comments, and all the other things coming out of that game. And yeah, it wasn't a good result, was it? And welcome back to the show.
My first thought is, have we got any time left? No, it's all too level-headed and reasonable and calm on this pod. It's time to bring that down a little bit. I mean, I'm half joking. I didn't go to the game, but I managed to log on to I didn't even follow it live, actually, for a very, very rare occasion. But I knew the result, and on the Sunday, logged into iFollow and watched the game back, which not a lot of people know you can do. You can watch the whole 90 back if you're a masochist like me. So yeah, to temper words carefully, I kind of agree with everyone. Really, I don't have too much of a hot take. It's been said to death now. It was a shocking performance, and what worries me is that we go on about reality checks or like, oh, this will be like, was Burton not really a reality check? Was Wimbledon not the second half of Wimbledon not the reality check? Was the Sheffield Wednesday game not a reality check? Because okay, it was a draw, but I mean, the luckiest draw you'll ever see with our goal. Because without that, we're losing 1-0. So like, I don't really know why this suddenly would become the game where it's the reality check. And obviously I hope that it is, and I hope that there will be lessons learned. But what saddens me is that we kind of touched on it, or I think it might have been John that touched on it, that Morsey was brought in to sort of add steel, if you like. And people might scoff sometimes and be like, oh, well, you can't really have any enforcers anymore in the modern game. Like, that's a 70s thing. And that's rubbish. Because, like, I mean, look at Man City. Fernandinho, fantastic defensive midfielder. I'm not comparing him to Sam Morsey in any way. But what Fernandinho did, alongside all of his, breaking up duties, is that he put one on a few players every now and then. Like, he was, if you looked in that City side, he was going to be the one to add a bit of crunch to a tackle. It would be him. And there's no reason why you can't have someone like that in a modern day side. And if you point at anyone, again, Morsey would be the kind of person you'd expect. And for whatever reason, on Saturday, it wasn't there at all. I mean, maybe at all is a bit harsh, but we were far too soft, and we kind of sort of played into Accrington's hands, really. They would have had surely we realised they would have a game plan. Like, of course they would. Like, we've played them quite a few times over the last couple of years. Like, their ethos hasn't changed, their manager hasn't changed, their ground hasn't changed. Like, nothing was surprising from Accrington, and that's what makes it so disappointing. And I guess if I'm going to lead a question on to everyone else, as my designated role as last on the first question, I would say, it depends on how much you like stats or how much you really look into stats, because see, they can be misleading, and some critics will say, well, you can make a stat out of anything in the modern game. But how many times now we've lost points from lost points from winning positions? It's now in the double figures. So I'm not saying that every time you take the lead, you're going to win. But is this now a epidemic amongst Ipswich in that we can't, for whatever reason, hold on to a lead? Or has it been unfortunate and Saturday was another one where if you flip it on its head and, we score the equaliser and then lose, is it only half as disappointing as taking the lead and going on to lose? But I don't know what my answer would be, but I'm interested to see what yours is, because for me, if it happens more than a few occasions, there's something in it. And I'd like to know what you guys think.
Well, of course, we've got a lot of bad stats with, losing the cup games, losing after international break. There's some really bad stats, and always when we play teams who have got a bad form, that's always what happens. We always do that. I think Accrington, they lost 5-1 in the last game, and then we won 6-0, and then we go and lose. Henry, as Bloomers said, is that one of your worries? We take the lead. We thought, okay, this could be a nice comfortable win, and maybe the players got a bit, I wouldn't say too arrogant, but they feel like they're going to, it's only Accrington, we're going to beat them. What's your thoughts on that?
No, definitely. And I had written down before this, the word fragility. And in terms of either like physically fragile, mentally fragile, I don't know. It's more, again, like I said, Jon and Bloomers brought in that Morsey comment, and Cook put a lot on him, and maybe a lot of pressure as well, to come in and be like, he's the man who's going to be solid for us. But going straight back to your question, he's a worry for me, absolutely. Taking a lead and not being able to hold on to it is criminal, basically, in football, especially after half time. I appreciate if they score straight away after, it's a bit different, but we've taken the lead for 20, 30 minutes and got to half time, which is the first target. Then the next target is like the first 10, 15 second half. Got halfway, I'm not halfway there, 5 minutes, 10 minutes into the second half, and conceded a pretty naff goal. And that's what I find so frustrating, is not like the Sheffield Wednesday goal. It's a good strike, and then goals, the Bolton game, I'm not even going to talk about. But those goals that we conceded from Accrington, average. Like they're not great balls in the box. The first one was a poor cross that missed where it should have gone, and then Pell managed to get a flick onto it. And then the second goal, again, the centre halves were too close to the goalkeeper and left that space in between the box and the penalty spot. I think Pell finished well, but again, absolutely, I do find it an issue, and I wouldn't want to see it again because it is so frustrating to see us take the lead and lose it. But yes, I definitely would echo that, and I do think it's an issue. It's not a one-off anymore either.
And Harvey, I'm going to quickly chuck in our question. It's a big question already. Is the top two already gone? Is this going to be a major thing? If we can't keep leads, then that position up there will be 12 points now, 12 points away from now. I know it's still early days. Well, I can't even say it's early days anymore. We've played 10 games. So it's not early days now. It's time to sort of go, yeah, maybe top two could be already gone, which it's hard to say.
Yeah, I think it is, to be honest with you. I do. I think there's too many. We'd have to go on a pretty ridiculous run, which is more than possible with the players we've got. We'd have to rely on an awful lot of slip-ups as well. So for me now, the aim is playoffs. For me, maybe that's silly of me to say when we're, still very early on in the season. But, the longer it goes on, we've got a lot of ground to make up already. So, for me, it's playoffs is the aim. Bloomers makes an interesting point because that's a stat that I saw as well, and I completely agree with. I think fragile is the key word there. You look back to Cook's comments last season, where obviously we had a completely different team to what we have now, and he mentioned that, one post-match interview where he said it looked like we had won a competition to play at Portman Road. He mentioned in quite a few interviews that the pressure of playing for such a big club in this league is maybe getting on top of one or two of them. And we've brought in all these new players in the summer, but you go through them just quickly in your head. Edmondson, who's played for, I know he's still relatively young, but he's played 100 career games now. He's played for a massive, massive club in Rangers. Granted, he didn't play, I wasn't a first team regular there, but he's played in the Europa League, if I remember rightly. He's played big games. You've got Sam Morsey, who has been captain at pretty much every one of his clubs. He was playing for Middlesbrough last season, who, yes, they're not an established Premier League side anymore, but they're still a big club in the Championship with big support. Selena, who is played, come through the ranks at Man City, played Championship level with us, with Swansea, and did very well. And that's concerning. It is concerning for me. I'm trying not to let it get to me that stat get to me too much at the moment, but Bloomers is right. It's definitely a concern. For it to happen once or twice, then maybe you can kind of forgive it, because they are, as we keep going on about, we are a brand new squad. But for it to be a continuing theme, we just seem to switch off so easily, and we almost, it's like we've won a game when we score or something like that. And it's bizarre, to be honest with you, especially, as I said, when we've got characters with real pedigree. This isn't a Luke Chambers who played for Nottingham Forest. It's not some of the players we had last season, and NCR, because he's not been playing of late as well. Scoops, people like that. This is Sam Morsey, George Edmondson, players like that who should be used to big pressure games and were brought in because of that reason. So, it's a concern to me, and it needs to be addressed. Otherwise, we're not finishing in the top half. Never mind top six. So, I'm still confident we will make playoffs, but as I said, that has to be addressed ASAP, because otherwise, it's just going to get toxic, and it's going to get toxic pretty quickly.
Yeah, we saw that after the Bolton game and the other results we've had. And Jon, do you think we need to be a bit more nastier? Do you think, sometimes we're a bit of a, I just don't know. We go into these games against Accrington. We know they've got 7-foot defenders and, hairy-ass defenders and hairy-ass strikers who will battle us. And against going to Accrington, it is like a non-league round. No offence to them, but it is, we had the lowest attendance we've ever played in front of on Saturday. Do you think just we haven't got those sort of players who could just change that mindset in terms of they'll be playing Portland Road one week, but then they have to go to non-league playing against these massive players, and unfortunately we just can never win those sort of games, which is always a worry when you got a lot of those sides. You've got the likes of Morecambe's, and there's so many other teams you can name in this league who will have to battle with because they've got 7-foot defenders and strikers.
Yeah, for years we haven't been tough enough. We haven't had Jason DeVos or Tony Mowbray or Ian Cranston or Terry Butcher. I'm going back. I'm older than you guys. We haven't had enough of those, and we're sometimes too nice. We don't have the, on a wet Tuesday night sort of team, do we turn up? But I think we've got the players in the squad who should be able to do that now. So I'm going to sound like I'm contradicting myself, but Bloomers, I'm going to come to a point. I'm going to say one thing to support what you said and one thing to challenge what you said. I don't think the goal against Sheffield was lucky. I thought it was a piece of class from Macaulay Bonne, and Fraser and Chaplin took their part in that brilliantly. So there wasn't luck. There was poor play by them, but we took our chance. And that game, we thoroughly deserved to get something out of that game. I've been to 6 live games, I think, this year. Burton, Wimbledon, MK Dons, Sheffield, Lincoln, Accrington. And I don't think we deserve to get beaten in any of them other than the Accrington game. We got beaten at Burton. We drew with Dons, AFC, Wimbledon, Sheffield, when arguably we should have got more from it. We didn't. And I'm not saying we deserve to get more, but we didn't get outplayed yet, like we did at Accrington. When obviously we had that great performance at Lincoln. I've watched us on the telly against Donny and all those, So overall, I think we played better than our results show. But it's a results table. That's one thing. But to kind of support what you're saying, we should go to Accrington knowing what they're going to do, because Cook used to manage them. He knows one of his best mates is the manager. Cameron Burgess and Janoy Dinasian both played for them under that manager. That's 2 of our starting 11 have played for that team recently. And you add Jackson into that as well. And, you could argue that we've bought their stands. I joked to Harvey at one point we should start a chant of "We're Ipswich Town, we paid for your stands," because that's the Burgess stand. That's the Janoy Dinasian stand. Because, we've spent a lot of money on their players. Burgess should have known better against them because he was their player last season. So, bit of yin and yang there. The problem with me is I'm an eternal optimist, and I look at it and go, "Oh, we could go on this run, and we could go." And I still think we're going to get promoted. I'm going to fall heavier, partly because of my size, and harder than most of you guys, because maybe I'm still hoping more than some of you are. I'm certainly not expecting anymore, and I'm certainly not believing as much as I wanted to, but the hope remains strong. I still think Paul Cook is a good fit for our club. I still think he's a good man. I still think the squad him and Mark Ashton have assembled has got quality. On the flip side of that, I've just looked at my better placed at the beginning of the year, and I'm not promoting betting, but I like a little bit here or there. And I put 20 quid on Ipswich to win the league outright, and I got 10-1. It went up to 12-1. I've just checked the odds now, and it's 33-1. The bookies aren't often wrong, are they? To win outright is 33-1 now. So I'm putting another tenner on. Maybe not. And that says something, doesn't it? That the bookies looking at our form, I'm thinking we're going to go up. Can we do it? Yeah, we can. Is it going to be easy? No, it's not. I always said, and I don't want to sound like a wise old fart, I said 15 to 16 games and then we'll see. I know, Ross, you're saying we're 10 games into the season. It's still not a massive chunk. It's a chunk, but if we do get a little run together now, suddenly, if we're mid-table, looking up on a run, there's no reason why we can't go on, because we're bloody Ipswich and we've got good enough players. Come on, let's get a bit of enthusiasm. Let's get behind Cookie and the boys and let's see it all happen, because there's not many teams in this league who are going to outplay us. But what we need to address is not being outfought. and getting this balance right. And I love the Lincoln performance because we played well first half. Then we were a proper team second half. We really were dug in deep. And, I don't believe. I just hope. Come on! I just want it to happen. So,
I admire your rallying cry. I do. And, I will give the benefit of the doubt to the team more than I probably let on, because at the end of the day, I'm a fan. I think some people might get the misconception that a lot of Ipswich fans don't want success because they're happy to moan. 95% of people don't want to moan; they'd rather us be successful. There are 5% that, by the way, do just want to moan, but it's honestly the very vast minority. Going back to what you said about wake-up calls and being comprehensively outplayed, yeah, I agree. Being comprehensively outplayed in those games didn't happen. But on the flip side to that, I've just got the expected goals league table. So for those of you that might be a bit confused with that, basically every game has been played, there's an expected goals tally for a team. So the game against Accrington on Saturday, Ipswich's XG would have been, I don't know what it is, by the way, so I'm just guessing. Let's say it's 0.8. So we were expected to score 0.8 goals in that game, but we actually scored 1. The other team will have the same. Basically, if you put all of those into the system in every game played this season, it comes up the league table based on what the results would have been if each team would have gone with their expected goals. Ipswich would be 12th. So let's not pretend that we've been really unlucky and we should be top 2 if it weren't for a few mistakes. The XG says that we'd have had 14 points by now, which is 4 more than we've actually got. Played 10, won 3, drawn 5, lost 2. So that is as average as you can get in this league, pretty much, based off of 10 games. Just as a quick aside, Rotherham would be top with 28 points and they'd be 7 points clear. So I'm not saying this is the gospel league table, but it does give an idea that maybe Rotherham have been more unlucky than most teams. And we've been unlucky, but not quite to the extent where maybe some people might think. I mean, the thing is with luck or whatever, and wake-up calls, you can still have a wake-up call even by playing well, the Wimbledon game. I know these are all they have been small mistakes that have been punished, but at the end of the day, they kept happening. And this Accrington game, I mean, the mistake was a mindset, wasn't it? It was a mindset. I've said it already, we knew what to expect, or us fans thought we knew what to expect from Accrington. You'd expected the players and our manager to as well, and it hasn't happened. So you just had to put it in the back seat. What's interesting, I'll just leave it at this, is that I said after the Bolton game on this podcast that it was always to me the Cambridge game would be crucial, and if Cook lost this, tragically to say, local derby, then it's his head on the chopping block. Kind of in a roundabout way, I actually think that it goes back to that again now. If we don't win any of these next 3 games, I think his position is probably more tenuous than it was after the Bolton game. In fact, actually, no. Yeah, it definitely will be more because that will be away game against Portsmouth, who aren't no great shakes at the moment. Game against Shrewsbury, which is, I mean, everyone's been labelling it as must win. And then the Cambridge game, they started off well, but they've tailed off completely. So it's completely winnable again. So I do think, and maybe this can be the next question, unless there was something else planned, how many points do you reckon we're going to get out of those 3? Because if you don't get a win, two wins, that'd be then 2 wins from 13 games. Surely his position's untenable.
To be fair, I just brought up the fixtures because I wanted to see who we got in October, and we have got a big, month ahead. Shrewsbury at home, which is, well, it needs to be a winnable game. Cambridge away, Pompey away, Fleetwood away, and of course a long trip to Plymouth. So actually, yeah, we're going to chat this question out there. Next 3 games, what's your prediction tallies then? Henry, what do you reckon those 3 games? The next 2 are definitely winnable. Pompey, they're a very weird side. They beat Sunderland 4-0 on the weekends, but they've had some weird results. What do you reckon then?
I'm in John's camp here. I'm an optimist. 9. It's got to be 9 points. It's the Shrewsbury game of the weekend. It's got to be that's got to be 3 points. Absolutely, that's a banker. There's a couple of things that I've in terms of listening across. One point I would like to make just before I go into those why we should get 9 is going back to that Moores. I feel bad for the lad being put so much pressure on. I see him as an ally for Cook on the pitch. Again, it may be a question to come back to, but does Cook have enough allies off the pitch? Is there enough people backing up his message in the training ground, on the training ground, on the pitch, off the pitch? Is that an issue? I don't know the answer. But again, maybe
he's got no one to challenge him because he's got no assistant manager. So if there was any more agreeing voices, it would be in North Korea. Sorry, carry on, Henry.
I think we just lost Henry for a second.
Stunned him into silence.
Oh, he's frozen. Yeah, he's doing a bit of a pout. If you're watching on video, he's doing a bit of a pout. As we get Henry back, we'll go over to you, Harvey, and sort of, yeah. Do you think that's what we've spoken about this multiple times already on the pod about him not having an assistant manager? You know, he's got coaches who are in their first proper jobs, really, in first team football. I know Freddie Jeffers has done academy football. Gary Roberts is pretty much just retired. But what do you reckon?
Yeah, this has been a kind of common discussion, hasn't it, over the last kind of 3-4 weeks in particular. I don't think much really was made out of it towards the start of the season. It wasn't really brought up that much from what I remember, but naturally when we get poor results, fans start questioning. I've been kind of toying with it. You know, you had the influence of Liam Richardson, who hasn't helped the situation by going on and doing so well with Wigan, getting 2 back-to-back Manager of the Month awards. I think we could do with another experienced head in there, if I'm being honest. I think someone like John McGreal has been mentioned quite frequently. It's a bit of a strange situation that he's been at various like town under 23 games and stuff like that. He's been sat with the coaches, but obviously doesn't seem to have a role, or whether he's just not on the books. I don't know. Maybe it's an unofficial thing. I'm not too sure, but yeah. I mean, I think we could do with another experienced head in there. But I don't think it's kind of the be all and end all either. This Cook's got a great record, and that great record isn't purely down to having Liam Richardson by him. He's got a great record because he's proven to be a very good manager at this level. So I wouldn't say it's kind of absolutely essential that he gets someone in, but I also wouldn't be against an older head coming in just to kind of level things out a little bit, to take pressure off people like Morsey to be such a big influence. You know, it's they kind of want. It feels like they kind of want him to have the same influence that Chambers had over the years. And for me, that was too much. Just stick to what you're doing on the pitch, I think, is the most important thing for him. Just quickly, the points situation over the next few days. I love the optimism, I really do. But for me, it's 7 points. I think is more realistic. I can see us beating Shrewsbury. I have to be honest, they're one of my surprise packages this season, Shrewsbury. I thought they'd do quite well. They've got Cosgrove from Birmingham, he's a decent striker, but they just haven't got off the mark, have they? So I think we'll beat Shrewsbury. I think our next game, I think we'll win against Cambridge, but Pompey, I think, will draw. Danny Cowley's teams are notoriously hard to beat, and as we've shown against Accrington, we're not very good at beating teams that are quite rigid and quite you know, tactically very astute. So yeah, for me, 7 points. I think that's a decent return, and yeah, something to build on for sure.
And Henry is back with us, so welcome back, my friends. When Bloomers mentioned North Korea, we thought, oh god, we're going to be shut down. But no, you're back. Well, let's get into your as you mentioned, you went 9 points. What do you reckon we can do?
Well, that's the optimist in me speaking. The realist, I think I'm more with Harvey in terms of 7 points would be a great result. The 3 against, I don't want to overplay the game against Shrewsbury, but if we don't get 3 points, I'll be severely disappointed. Game against Cambridge, hopefully we can outclass them. Again, they try and play proper football. And down at Portsmouth, it's always quite difficult at Fratton Park. Hopefully that lad's still ringing his bell or beating his drum, dampen his day. But yeah, again, but the quality of the team, if something starts clicking and the football we play, I think I heard someone say in the podcast last week, it's the best football I've seen Ipswich play for years, genuine years. It's that fragile nature of conceding one and, oh God, it could happen again. And again, don't want to go again. So 7 points is my realistic approach with a realistic hat on. I'd love 9 points and I'd love to be dancing into November happily, but wait and see. So 7 from me, I'd say.
Okay, Jon, you've heard from two very positive men. Are you going to be as positive as them as well? And I'm interested to see what Bloomers is going to say. But what do you reckon these 3 games and yeah, 2 away games, 1 at home?
Well, for me, Ross, if we don't beat Shrewsbury, then there's an absolute problem, isn't there? Because that suddenly means we need to go to Portsmouth and Cambridge and then other games to get more results. And then we start looking at those points per game average, and we're never going to get from 10 points. We need to be getting a lot more points per game on average. Then we need to double it. And actually, over the season, you need to get 90, 85, 90, 92, 94. We've got a lot of points we need to catch up already, so we can't be not winning at home to Shrewsbury. And I'm not. That's not me being arrogant there. Shrewsbury are going to go. We have to go and work hard, but we need to go and work hard against them and secure that victory. The Portsmouth game does worry me, but equally, it could be. It's like rolling a dice for me. It could be we could go there and win 3-1, or we could get an absolute spanking, or it could be an absolute 0-0 ball draw. I've got no idea how that one's going to go, but that puts even more pressure on the Shrewsbury and Cambridge games for me. I think minimum we need would be 6. I think we'll get 7. I think we'll, like Harvey and Henry have both said, we'll have a win at home to Shrewsbury and draw at Pompey and win away at Cambridge. 9 points would be lovely, but our form doesn't say 9 points, so maybe I'm being a bit more Bloomers than I thought here. It says that on average we're going to win one of those, lose one and draw one, because we're playing quite average, aren't we? So
another person's froze. We didn't say North Korea this time. Oh, Bloomers, you come in anyway. Here's your time to go. Oh, John's
there
back.
He is.
John's back. He's back.
I think he'd finished, but I will succeed to him just in case he hadn't.
Go ahead.
No, he's frozen again.
Oh, okay. All right, Bloomers, come in.
I'm here. Go ahead, Bloomers. Go ahead.
All right. Okay. It's that North Korean internet connection he's got. There's 2 things I love. There's 2 things I love in this world, especially when it comes to sports, and that's betting and stats/graphs. For those of you who don't know, I work in the betting industry, so this is a work/hobby thing of mine anyways. Wickham are playing Gillingham at home on the same day we're playing Shrewsbury at home. Wickham are more heavily favoured to beat Gillingham than we are to beat Shrewsbury, just to sort of put some perspective in things. We are odds on and quite comfortably odds on, but it's not the gimme that you'd think based on what we've been talking about on this podcast. Do I think we're going to win? I still do think we're going to win. But I don't want people thinking that this is going to be a runaway. I mean, aside from the Doncaster game, name me a runaway home win in the last 3 or 4 years. It just doesn't happen. I just want to do a quick shout out to a website called Experimental 361, run by a bloke called Ben Mayhew. So the expected goals table is where I got that from his website. And he also does some fantastic graphs talking about things like attacking effectiveness, defensive effectiveness. He does it through the entire Football League. So it's really good to get some kind of insight because he does his wonderful graphs. And even if you're a dummy like I am, you can gain information from it quite easily. The thing that this won't be a surprise to you when I say this, because the thing that worries me at the moment is our defence and how it looks like we're going to concede every time another team has an attack. It's funny you should say that, because when it comes to Ipswich's defence, we are taking about between 9 and 10 shots a match at the moment. When it comes to the amount of shots faced per goal conceded, it's between 5 and 6. So, and that's, by the way, the lowest in the whole division. So teams are having between 5 and 6 shots and scoring a goal on average throughout our 10 games. No team in this league is facing fewer shots to having a goal. So that basically means when we say, oh, it looks like they're going to... Well, actually, no, that's true. That's exactly what's happening, more than any other team in this division. I can't sit here and say we're going to get 9 points. I can't sit here and say we're going to get 7 points. I think I've settled on 5. I was going to say 4, but I thought even that's negative. I'll go for 5. The wins against Shrewsbury, like I said. Neither game, the Portsmouth or Cambridge game, I can confidently sit here and say we're going to win. I think it's going to be 2 draws. And I don't know how I'm going to feel about that come the end of it. I think the Cambridge game is more of a toss-up than anyone sort of realises, just because it's the first competitive meeting between these two since 1993. So, it's going to be... They're going to be up for it, if you didn't realise already. I think the Pompey man's in my room ringing his bell.
He's a bit early, isn't he?
But the Portsmouth game is... I don't think we've got many happy memories of that place. And I certainly can't think of a win straight off the top of my head from having gone there. It'll be my first time watching a game in Fratton Park. I've been to the stadium before. It's probably my favourite ground in the whole Football League. Maybe Fulham. Oh, well, no, they are in the Football League. Yeah, all right. Fulham first, Portsmouth second. I think it's going to be extremely difficult. It's nice to know that we're going to be backed by at least 1,000 away fans now. It's probably going to be more come the time of kickoff. They are a team sort of steeped in our situation at the moment in terms of big expectations, big club, relatively pocketable owners, and a manager/managers, if they're still doing the co-managerial thing, of the Cowleys under pressure. So I think it's going to cancel each other out, and it will be maybe a 1-1, because we have scored in every game this season in the league. So that brings us to 5 points. I don't think that's enough for anyone to be happy, but also 3 unbeaten games with 2 away maybe is a bit better than sort of on paper. But at this stage of the season, we've already made a rod for our own back so much because we've got that deficit to make up. So I don't see anyone being happy about that.
No, but unbeaten in 3 games. I'll take that right now. Now, I thought we'll have a little break here before we get into the Shrewsbury predictions and previews and expected Town 11s. Of course, we won a game this week, by the way. We haven't forgot about it. We do care about the Papa John's Trophy. We love pizza here. Of course, we beat Gillingham. We always play Gillingham. But we'll talk about the players that stood out and looking ahead to the game. But we are going to bring a strike. But before the strike, of course, the podcast is sponsored by manscaped.com. Use the code KOA, get 20% off and free delivery at manscaped.com. And of course, I think there's only a few more days to go. Probably when you're listening to this, it's actually done now at the Wolsey Theatre. But yeah, never lost at home, which has been fantastic. I know a lot of people have watched it and they've enjoyed it. Hopefully they'll be creating another show again soon about another thing that happened at Town, but we'll wait and see on that. But support it if you haven't already. But yeah, let's bring in the strike to break up the podcast, and we'll go and bring in the jingle. Boom. There's the jingle for the people listening to audio. If you watched it on video, you just saw a quick little moment where we were just all looking in each other's eyes. But yeah, let me just quickly get my answers up. Last week, apparently it was a shambles. It was to an extent. One question people couldn't get, apparently the question didn't make any sense, but I did it in the car with you, John, to Accrington, and you felt it was a K question. Yes, Bloomers?
I've not heard this question, so do it.
The question, we won't of course use it. The question was about Gary Roberts. He joined Town from Accrington in 2006, but how many games did he play for both in 5 seasons combined? So does that make sense?
So he played for both teams for 5 years combined. How many appearances did he make? Yeah. You had 4 people on last week.
I think so.
Also, out of interest, I'm going to go 68. I haven't got a clue, by the way.
It's 128.
It's a good thing I wasn't on last week then.
Yeah, definitely would have got a point for that. But okay then. Well, we have 5 questions, a tiebreaker if needed. We've got paper and pens at the ready. Henry, this will be his first ever strike. So could he become the strike champion this week? The questions is, of course, on Shrewsbury, however you say it. I know one is the posh way to say it. The other one is the correct way to say it. But yeah, question 1 is, how many games have Town won against Shrewsbury in 27 meetings? So the first, closest gets the point. So 27 meetings. I think a lot of the games were against them were in like the 70s and 80s, and then one in the 90s. And of course, we played them the last 3 seasons. Of course, this is our first season in League One. But yeah, whenever you guys are ready. Also, if I can't see it, just shout out your answer because sometimes that works better as well. All right, John, what are you gone for?
17.
Bloomers.
15.
Henry.
22.
Harvey's changing it.
Oh. What's he done?
14.
Ooh, now someone is bang on, and that man is a sweet Welsh prince, and it is Harvey with 14 bang on, 14 wins, 10 draws, and only 3 defeats. So
not a bad record.
In there. A lot of draws though. 10 draws. Right. Question 2 is a 90s question. So John, this could be an opportunity for you to have that advantage here. But it depends if you know 90s stuff. But Town beat Shrewsbury 3-0 in the League Cup in 1990. But who won the competition that year? There's 3 options: Manchester United, Sheffield Wednesday, or Leeds United. So yeah, it's not relevant to Town, of course, but that year we actually lost in the next round against Southampton. Little fun fact there if you want to know, in the 3rd round. But yeah, Town beat Shrewsbury 3-0 in the League Cup that year. In the second replay, by the way, there was replays in the League Cup back then.
Second replays as well.
Yeah, stupid. All right then, boys, you ready? Man United, Sheffield Wednesday, or Leeds? So, John's gone Man United. Henry's gone Leeds. Sheffield Wednesday is Bloomers. And Harvey.
Man United.
See that? Man United. One person is right, and that is Bloomers. Sheffield Wednesday.
Did they beat Sheffield United in the final?
Nah, Man United. Man United in the final. Man United in the final, 1-0. So I think that's...
Was it Paul Warhurst goal?
No, I think it was... bear with me. I don't really know. Let me quickly get up the final. Quickly look. I don't know who got the goal. I don't know any Sheffield Wednesday players.
They had a really good team at that point Wednesday. I think that's when Des
Wood was John Sheridan.
John Sheridan. So there we go. Little fun fact for you guys listening on your walk or your run or your drive. John Sheridan scored in the 1991 League Cup final against Man United. There we go. Now, next question is on Toto Nsiala. Of course, he played on Tuesday in the 2-0 win. Once again, we haven't forgot about that game. We are going to briefly talk about it. The Pat Johns Trophy, a big game, of course, for the 3rd game against Colchester to see who can get through. But yes, he joined Town from Shrewsbury Town in 2018. But how many games has he played so far for the Blues? Of course, he's had a few moments where he's got injured and, of course, gone out on loan to Bolton and all that stuff. But how many games has he played so far? And I've got to change the answer on my phone, so I've pretty much added another number. It's definitely not over 100, by the way. Little clue there. But I've decided to add another number, so it says bigger than it actually is. He scored 1 goal, by the way. Little clue, if that helps. I don't know. Probably doesn't. He's a defender. Didn't score money. Of course, currently it's Bloomers 1, Harvey 1, and Henry and John are currently on 0. But still, lads, still chance here. Right, whenever you're ready, guys.
I'm changing. I was going to change. Okay, I can't change now.
42-67. Bloomers.
63.
I realised I've gone too low, but by the time you'd all shown your answers, it was too late to change. I went 36. I don't know why.
It's definitely not 36.
You probably made that in one. You probably made that all of last season.
Pretty much, yeah. Well, the answer is 65. So Harvey, I think, is the closest. I think you went 60 something, didn't you?
67.
67. So yeah, he has made it 2-1 going into question 4. And question 4 is on Matthew Pennington. Or Matt Pennington. I don't know why I've just gone Matthew. It's got very, very formal there. I'm basically being his mum. Matthew! Telling him off. But of course, he had a loan spell with us. How many games did he play during his loan spell at Town? So there we go. Of course,
I think I saw him score. Did he score away at Derby?
No, that was Callum Connolly. But he had scored. He did score for us. I'm trying to think against who though.
It's impressive that you did that off the top of your head.
I don't know why. I think I can remember it for some reason. I just remember it, yeah. I think it was the only goal of the game as well. We don't really score many goals against Derby. It's always 1-0 win. I've still got Carlos Edwards late winner
I'm pretty sure
vibes.
it was a 1-0 win.
I think it was, yeah.
It was
At
on
Derby.
Tuesday night. Yeah.
Tuesday night, yeah. But yeah, Matthew Pennington. I'll quickly get up.
I like Pennington. I thought he was decent.
Wow.
Yeah.
I thought that's a good signing
I agree.
for Shrewsbury as well.
I thought he might come back this summer.
Yeah.
There's
I was
potential,
happy.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, he scored against Birmingham in the 2-2 draw, but then he also got sent off in the same match. Got a fun fact there. So there's a red card. So he did miss 3 games because he's suspended. But anyway, your answers, please, boys. Right, what we got here? Henry is gone 24, 22, Harvey, 29, 34. The answer is 31. So there we go. So Harvey and Bloomers goes into the final question, 2 apiece. Henry and John still play, but you have pretty much had a bad outing on the strike. Henry, not a great debut on the strike, but a great debut on the podcast. But all right,
Ross, can I just interrupt and just say maybe this goes to prove that I don't know what I'm talking about, and this optimism is absolutely founded on being an idiot, really.
Maybe I'll share that with you.
Yeah, I've just got every question pretty much totally wrong. So I'm going to revise my answer and say we're going to get 1 point from the next 3 games.
To be fair, my questions for the strike are normally very much just a guessing game. You know, how many wins, how many goals, how many appearances. So you've got to guess, really. So they're not really, sometimes actually me, in a way, I need to improve my questioning. But we are on now question 5, and this is the head-to-head between Harvey and Bloomers. And it's on Jon Nolan, who is still injured, I think. I don't know if he'll ever play again. Although I think Paul Cook likes him because he's a Scouser, and he pretty much likes Scousers, doesn't he? But yeah, Jon Nolan, of course, played for Shrewsbury with Toto. Of course, Paul Hurst signed both of them, both put in a transfer request, so he's probably still not very... He's not probably Shrewsbury fans don't like him anymore. But how many goals did he score in 55 games for Shrewsbury? Is it Shrewsbury or Shrewsbury?
I'd have said Shrewsbury, but I'm fairly certain that's not how you're supposed to say it.
Didn't Eden Hazard call him Strawberry in an interview like 2 or 3 years ago?
Possibly. But English is his second language, probably, or maybe his third because he's Belgium. He's maybe got a bit of France because he went to play in France, so it's probably his third language. Yeah. And now he's got to learn Spanish, although he's not doing really well at Real Madrid. Eden Hazard to Jon Nolan. Yeah, who would you rather have?
I saw one of Jon Nolan's Shrewsbury goals in the playoffs, live in the playoffs against Charlton. I was probably the only
goal that was.
To see it. I was going to say, if you haven't seen it, anyone who's listening, go on YouTube and watch it because A, it's well worth your time, and B, then you'll think, why on earth has he never done that for us?
Yeah, I'm convinced we've got his brother because that was a hell of a goal.
We got Jimmy Nolan by accident.
Yeah.
Oh, poor Jimmy. His calves are not very good. All right, well, John and Henry, show me yours first. Okay, 17, 10. All right, then, Harvey and Bloomers, take it away. Both at the same time. 10, 14. Well, someone is bang on. Well, 2 people actually bang on, and it is 10.
Oh,
Henry got one. Henry's got one. He's got one, and Bloomers has won it overall. So there we go. Sorry, Harvey. Good effort, though. Good effort. We have got a tiebreaker, though, if needed. Shall we do a tiebreaker?
Why not? Why not?
It's up to you, Bloomers. This
I'll
could be...
I'll put it all on the line. I'll gamble.
Oh, he's going to gamble. He's going to gamble. And he's gambling on Paul Hurst here.
Oh.
Now, how many games did Paul Hurst win? Not as town manager, because we all know that was one. But how many games did he win for Shrewsbury in 97 games? So there we go. As he risked it there. So can John and Henry steal this then if they get it right? Once again, you've got to get bang on. You've got to get bang on.
Harvey can level it up. We can do the charity shield and share it like they used to in the 90s.
Yeah. You need to get bang on though to properly steal it though, because I haven't got a tiebreaker after it, so it will have to be a draw. But yeah, 97 games. How many games was the manager of town? I think it's 15. 1 win.
Too many.
Yeah. Yeah, too many. Yeah. All right, then, lads. All right, and what's John gone for? 42, 41. Ryan, 42 as well. 33. Well, no one has got it bang on, but it is 42. Oh, no, 47, sorry.
I was going to say, I have got it bang on.
And so have I.
Yeah. No, it's 47. It's 47 wins in 97 games, which is a good record, but you did get them into the playoffs, and they did get to the Papa John's, or I think it was Truck or Trade trophy back then, or whatever trophy it was called. They've had loads of different names. But there we go.
He's top of the league with Grimsby at the moment as well, isn't he? If I remember rightly.
Possibly, yeah. Possibly,
Yeah,
yeah.
he's doing very well.
Yeah, he does well at. Yeah, he found his level. Grimsby is his club. Is his club. But yeah, there you go.
He's doing better than me because I got nothing there in any question. So, yeah, I'm the Paul Hurst of the strike, really, aren't I?
Don't worry, John. To be fair, you got the last one a little bit right. You were the same as Harvey with 42, close to 47. It's fine, And let us know at home. Let us know how you got on as well. As I said, play at home. If you're watching it on video, you saw the questions pop up. And now it's over to Alcon Baggett to outro. So if you watch this on video, we'll do a little wave, and on audio, you'll hear Alcon's lovely voice now. All right, then. There we go. As you saw on video, you saw the waves. Now let's talk about Shrewsbury taking on Town at Portman Road this weekend. As I said, in the week, we won a game. We beat Gillingham. Steve Evans is not very happy, as always. He's never happy, I don't think, when his sides lose. But a lot of changes in that game. I think it was pretty much the full 11. Hopefully, I've got that right. Yes, I've got shaking heads here. Thank you very much. Of course, one player, which I thought would never see play for Town again, was Miles Kenlock. He came in out of the cold. Somehow, yeah, my boy runs like a chicken and all that jazz. But yeah, we saw a lot of other players coming in. Carl Edwards was back. KVY, Toto came back. Wolforden. I'm pretty much naming the whole squad here. Of course, Connor Chaplin and Joe Piggott got the goals. Henry, let's talk about the 11 this weekend. Of course, Burson now he's on international duty. Sam Morsey was part of that as well. He was going to go to Egypt, but he wasn't in the proper squad, so he's still here. Good. But what do you reckon? What's your thinking on this 11? Are we going to change up the formation? Are you going to change in our players? Who are you bringing in? Of course, Paul Cook loves his formation, so don't expect 2 up front and don't expect 3 at the back or whatever. But what do you reckon?
I saw the article today about the 4-4-2. Did make me chuckle. Again, I'm not against it, but again, I don't think he'll ever go back to that after saying so heavily that he's got a 4-2-3-1 man. I think same back 5, same 2 holding or Morsey and Evans, and then I've been mulling it over. Fraser will definitely start. Obviously, I hope he starts because he's been really coming back into getting on the ball, looking great on the ball. He looks a bit more energy as well with his game. Bon up top, can't knock him from there, and hopefully Burns is Achilles. I think he keeps pulling up and probably around this 60-70 mark with Achilles. Looks like he has a problem there, but I think he'll start. So it's really over, depending whether they move Fraser out wide left or keep Fraser at the 10 position. Between Chaplin, who keeps coming on and scoring, or starts and scores, in comparison to Edwards, the tricky winger who lit up the field whenever he started last few the games before he got injured. It's a tough one because I think both have a reason to start. It's a tough position for Cook to be in, and probably a nice position to at least have 2 players ready to play, and they all seem fairly fit. If I don't want to sit on the fence, I think he'll start Chaplin. I think Chaplin will play more in the role similar to like Selena does with Fraser. They can interchange from the left and into the centre. I think he fits the bill a bit more closely. Bring Edwards on, hopefully tired fullbacks to really, really attack them. And again, but it's a tough one. I can see it, but I wouldn't be disappointed either way, basically. But it's got to be, I think it will be Chaplin or Edwards. And when he brought Aluko on, I started Aluko a bit randomly, probably, I think maybe against Morecambe, MK, or I can't remember which home game it was. But I don't think it will be Aluko. I think it will be either or. I think Chaplin, I'm putting money on Chaplin to start. And I think he'll score as well. That's my prediction. He'll come on and I think he'll suit Bond's game quite well. He gets in behind. He helps a bit extra running in behind, whereas quite a lot of players like the ball to the feet, like the goal he scored against Gillingham, in behind the defence. Great ball from Piggott. And yeah, I think I'm going to put money on Chaplin.
What's your score prediction? And that's what we do on this show. I want to know. I want to put that down on paper. What are you going for? You're going for a Chaplin goal, but is that going to be 1-0, 2-0, 3-0?
2-0. 2-0. Well, I looked at Shrewsbury conceded a few every game in the last probably 6 games. They conceded at least one, and that they conceded 1 against Wolves under 23s, 2 against Bolton, 2 against Wickham. They beat Wimbledon but conceded 1 again, so they do concede. So I'm going for a 2-0 win. I'm going to get a clean sheet, Chaplin goal, and a Bond goal. He's got to score. So I've got two goal scorers and a clean sheet, hopefully.
Yeah, Bond is pretty much going to score every game, even if we win, draw, or lose. He's scoring. Even if it's 0-0, he's still scored, if that makes any sense. Harvey, over to you. Talk about your 11, your prediction, as always, and any other bits you want to chuck through as well.
Yeah, good to get a result on Tuesday. Hopefully we can replicate that, follow it up with a good win on Saturday. I actually don't think the back 5 will be the same as they were against Accrington. I've got a sneaky feeling he might bring KVY back into it. He sounded like he was all right on Tuesday without being necessarily outstanding. And I know Janoy's been brilliant. He's been solid. But long term, we all know what Cook wants. He wants flying fullbacks. I know he's not been in squads of late, KVY, but I think Cook still backs him. But rightly so. Janoy was starting in that right back slot. So I think he might spring a surprise on us and start KVY there on Saturday. That's my hot take. Apart from that, I'd stick with Ladkey because I don't think Walton's ready yet by the sounds of it. Doesn't sound like Coulson's ready just yet either. And despite them being a little bit shaky against Accrington because there's definitely potential in the partnership of Edmondson and Burgess. And Edmondson in particular, I think he's going to be a very good defender in this league. They offer different qualities. Burgess isn't great with the ball at his feet. I think me and John discussed that on Saturday. Accrington were targeting him every time he had the ball at his feet because obviously they know him very well. So that'll be my back 5. I'd stick with Morsey and Evans in midfield. I think it's harsh on El Mazzuni because he sounded like he was the pick of the bunch on Tuesday. He seems to really have kind of thrived in this defensive midfielder role, which I didn't see for him whatsoever, to be honest with you. Slightly harsh on Harper as well, possibly. Did okay when he came on against Accrington, but I can't see him starting. Burns, he had a good rest on Tuesday, so I think he'll come back in. I know he's been carrying a knock, so hopefully he'll come back in. He was a little bit disappointed on Saturday, but so was everyone else. And then it's the interesting kind of front 3 dilemma, isn't it? Personally, I would go with Chaplin. I think Chaplin deserves to start. I think he's been unlucky not to start more. He certainly did well on Tuesday night, scored another goal. So for me, something a little bit different to obviously what we've had the last few games. I'd start Chaplin, and I would start with Kyle Edwards on the left-hand side. He wasn't at his best, I don't think, on Tuesday night, but I think, what was he? Did he play the full game Tuesday night? Don't think he did he? Came off. I think Barry replaced him. I might be wrong on that. But he's got minutes in his legs now, so hopefully he'll be raring to go on Saturday. Might be a little bit harsh on Fraser, but long term, I still don't think he's a left midfielder. I know they interchange quite a lot, but long term, I want to see Kyle Edwards there. We've given him a 3-year deal to play games, so I'd start with Edwards on the left, Salier in the hole, Burns on the right, and obviously I'd actually play Norwood up front. No, I'm joking. It would be Bond, of course. And Bond he puts himself in the team, doesn't he? So that'll be my team for Saturday, and I'm predicting a comfortable and well-needed 3-0 victory at Fortress Portman Road. That's what I'm going for. How about that for optimism?
Yeah, well, that is normally, of course, good old David's prediction. He always goes 3-0, even if we're playing rubbish, we go 3-0. And John has also got a scoreline, a choice. And 4-1. He's ready. He knows it already. I should just put that down as a permanent fixture on the prediction league. Is just John 4-1. John, last time we were taking on a team who are pretty much down and doing not very well in the league. We won 6-0 at Portman Road. We've got Shrewsbury next. They're currently 23rd. I've just looked at their recent results. They've not done very well. 2-1 defeat against Bolton on the weekend, a 2-1 defeat against Wickham at home. But they did beat Wimbledon 2-1. They've had a few draws. They drew against Sheffield Wednesday. They lost 1-0 against Accrington. They beat Gillingham 2-1. But they've had some other not so great results. There's not a lot of goals in this. You're going 4-1. But what's your team and what's your overall feeling going into this one? Your mic, my friend. Your mic. There we go, John. All right.
Juvenile schoolboy error. I apologise. 4-1 because we're going to be better than them. We're going to work hard and we're going to outplay them. Bond's going to score first. Chaplin's also going to get one. I think Chaplin's going to start in the hole in the number 10 role. I think he deserves the chance. I think actually as the season gets on, he could become our most significant player. I think he's going to be a really important player for us. I think Cook will start with Fraser on the left and Burns on the right. And then I think Edwards will come on in the second half. I personally would prefer to start with Edwards because I think from what I know of Shrewsbury, and I'm not trying to say I'm an expert, I think they play 3 at the back, 3 centre-halves. And I think many centre-halves don't like being run at. And I think Edwards is more direct. Fraser's a little bit more passing and tippy-tappy. But I think if Edwards does play, he needs to start producing. Because I saw him come on for his debut at Burton, and we were all like, wow, he's worldy. But actually, he hasn't scored yet. He hasn't really created. He had an amazing shot that game from nowhere. But actually, if you look at assists, Fraser is in the team on merit, isn't he? So I think, without trying to put pressure on him, and he's not going to take any pressure from me, but he needs to actually start delivering now because, yes, he's had a knock and he's been out and stuff, but when he gets his chance, I would love to see him get a goal or set up a goal or really be influential because what he's done is look really exciting. What did somebody describe him as? All fur coat and no knickers or something like that. He just hasn't done it yet, properly delivered. So it would be good to see if he does start, which I hope he does. He seizes that opportunity. But I actually think he'll probably be on the bench, and it'll be Fraser and Burns on the kind of wide midfield roles with Chaplin in the pocket. I think he'll stick with the same lacking goal. I think Janoy might just get this game, and maybe KVY will be on the bench. He'll probably stick with Evans and Morsey if everybody's fit. So the only change from last week's team is Celine obviously on international duty and Chaplin starts instead. Piggott back on the bench rather than Norwood for me. I know we probably shouldn't talk about things that are in the legal process and stuff, but I think James Norwood needs to make sure he's concentrating on football and not anything else. And I would rather see Piggott play than Norwood at the moment. I think he's a better player. He's got more to offer longer term for Ipswich Town. So, yeah, pretty standard selection for me. The only one I'm not sure about is the Fraser and Edwards. But I think Cook will start Fraser. And I think so 4-1, Bond to score first, Chaplin to score as well, Edmondson, and the fourth one will be Edwards. There you go. Put money on that. Bloomers, you need to do that research on what accumulate I can get for that score combination, please.
Your mic is muted as well. Our 2 amateurs got amateurs on this show. I'll probably be doing it in a second as well. Don't worry, mate. Don't worry.
I won't be able to tell you exactly what you can get for all of those, but I can probably, if you give me 10 seconds, tell you what you can get for Macaulay Bond to score. Well, it won't be very much.
We've already done Macaulay Bond 4-1. That was done on Monday night before that's all. That's in the phone. It comes up as my predicted thing. Just
here you go. Here's a Rick for you. Joe Piggott short odds than Macaulay Bond to score for Ipswich on Saturday.
And that's just bizarre, isn't it? That's bizarre.
They got inside info. They got inside info. Right?
We're talking half a point here, but you got to take any edge you can, I guess. Yeah, no, 5-1 first goal scorer Macaulay Bond, 7-4 anytime. Surely that 7-4 is printing money. I can hear everyone say, no, there's no such thing as printing money.
No.
Um,
But yeah, Bloomers, what do you reckon then?
Yeah, well, it's a weird one, isn't it? It's slightly ironic how everyone cries foul about consistency, and then we named an unchanged side for Accrington and lost. Obviously. Now, obviously, we can't have an unchanged side from that game with Chilena coming out. So spaces are kind of going to be limited. I don't think there's going to be anything wholesale. You've got the Fraser Edwards thing that you guys have talked about already. Bon obviously is going to need the line. You know, will Pigott get his chance for a longer term, or is it going to be another subs bench job? Not too sure. At the end of the day, you're going to. There's a phrase in NFL that I like, and NFL is my second favorite sport. It's called riding the hot hand. Basically, if someone's in form, you play him until he's not anymore. And see, Macaulay Bon is just that, and he will play the 90 unless he gets an injury or is completely out of his legs for every league game for the foreseeable. I think that we will win. I think that the quality of players we have are better than Shrewsbury's. That's on paper, and games not played on paper. I think that the 6-0 might be a little bit not flattering, because it wasn't flattering on the day, but I feel like it will give players confidence to know that, you know, the best stuff so far has been at home. I'm also conscious that the game can turn quite quickly if after, like, I don't know, an hour and it's still 0-0 and the fans are getting restless, that might go on to the players. But I do think it will be okay. I think a first half goal will come as well, even though that's something that actually hasn't been a problem because we've been starting off really well in games. So, yeah, I do think this will be a win. I'm not too sure if it will be a comfortable one, but I certainly don't think that Shrewsbury have got stuff to worry us for. And also, they haven't done the best that they could this season. Steve Cottrell, their manager, had a wealth of COVID issues. You know, they haven't started the season incredibly well. I know they're not exactly expected to be up there, but especially in the league at the moment where you've got, you know, at least 9 teams that probably think they should be in the top 2 and have a divine right. So, yeah, this is Shrewsbury's away form, by the way. He played... oh, that's wrong. I nearly gave you false information. Hang on a minute. Drawn 1, lost 4, 1-0. So, as Henry said, we really should be putting these to the sword. But if there's any ever a place for a team to get their first win of the first away win of the season, you know where it will be. But no, I'll go. I've said 2-1 on the chat, haven't I? I've just been doing it as we've been speaking. Now I've seen some more of these stats. Actually, maybe I'd have changed it to 2-0, but I'll stick with the 2-1. I think Bon will get another goal. Let's stick a dart in the Ipswich Town first team and go... Oh, George Edmondson. Okay, fair enough then. John, I've just repeated what you said for half of your scorers. Maybe there's something going on there.
To be fair, I'd like us to score more goals from set pieces, more goals from our defenders. It'll be good to see, you know, Burgess and Emerson getting in. I know Emerson scored in the 6-0 win against Doncaster, but I want to see more of that. And Portland Road at the moment is our safe haven at the moment. We're winning games there. We're doing really well. Just away from home is not great. So maybe, yeah, as you said, if it's still 0-0, and I'm sure the fans will get a bit restless, and and I don't know how the players will react to that.
Just quickly, John, what was the score as you said? Not Bon.
Bon, Chaplin, Edmondson, and Edwards.
If you think all of those players are going to score on Saturday, that's 350 to 1.
I'm going to go and put £2 on that right now.
That's all 4 players combined to score any time.
That's a good. I'm going to go for that. I'm going to go and put £1 on that, or £2. I might even go for £3 whole pounds.
Ooh, in the money there. In the money. That's good. That's what I do. To be fair, I'm the same with betting. I don't spend too much money. I've put a quid here, £2 here, and stuff. Bloomers.
4-1 on top of that makes it 700 to 1.
If that actually happens, that will be.
You'd get double the odds on 1 Shrewsbury goal. Obviously, you know, then you'd have to score 4 goals for the first one to come in. So I know we could score more than 4 goals, but let's not get carried away. He says, having just priced up a 700 to 1 bet.
And if anybody cares, I'm going for a 2-0 win, just like Henry. I think that is a sensible prediction. I think we'll definitely score goals, but not too many. And I think we'll be able to keep a clean sheet. I think that's so. Portland Road will be our safe haven, as I said. It will be an opportunity for us to keep clean sheets and all that stuff. Well, lads, it's been a pleasure once again. Any other business before we wrap up? I'll go to all of you. I'll go to you, Henry, first. Any other business after making your debut, my friend?
Firstly, just thank you very much for having me on. It's been great. It's been great to talk about Ipswich. I do that at my own time. So it's great to talk with you guys about it. Just looking forward to getting down to Portland Road again this weekend. Trains are awful from London, so I'm not looking forward to that. But yeah, and it's been this year. This year will be 20 years going to Ipswich since my first game at Portland Road. So yeah, it'd be nice to get back to Portland Road since the last time. But yeah, no, thanks again for having me. It's been great.
It's a pleasure. And Harvey, over to you. I'm actually going to get all of you to share me how long you've been a Town fan for. So Harvey, how long is? I'm sorry, I'm going to be bringing ages in here. Sorry, John. But how long have you been a fan and any other business?
Literally since I can remember. I think my first Town game was a 0-0 draw against Chester in the FA Cup, where a certain John Walters was playing for Chester that day. Or at least that was one of the first games I remember. Missed about 3 sitters, and then we signed him for $100,000 a few weeks later, and he went on to have a pretty decent career, didn't he? So yeah, literally ever since I can remember. Mostly Downs, isn't it? Mostly Downs, being an Ipswich fan, but hopefully we're on our way up now. I'll never forget losing in the playoffs to West Ham and crying in my room, ripping my Ipswich calendar off the wall, and who knows, I might be doing that again at the end of the season. So, yeah, no, we're hoping now that this is going to be the start of some real positivity. I know that the results haven't been what we'd wanted to start with, but you know, let's keep the faith, let's keep the attendances. What was it, 18,000 on a Tuesday night? Is just unbelievable for this league. It really, really is, and we've got such good support around the club, and we've got every right to be angry because we've been shite for a lot of this season, certainly results-wise. But yeah, let's keep positive. We've got the best squad in the league without a shadow of a doubt. I don't think anyone can deny that. And yeah, let's start things off again with a 3-0 win this weekend, and yeah, we can enjoy our Saturday nights then, can't we?
Definitely, and I'm sure Portland Road hopefully will be bouncing once again. You know, it's great to see these attendances going up, and you know, I'm sure a lot of people went to their first game against Doncaster and saw us see 6 goals. So I'm sure they're making their return. I'm sure it could be a different result this week. But John, any other business? And yeah, how long have you been a Town fan? As Henry said, he's been 20 years now this season. How long's for you? What's your next anniversary?
I think it's 31 years, 32 years maybe. Yeah, 1980. Yeah, God, 1985. So was mascot for Ipswich in 1987.
We've seen those pictures. They need to be shared elsewhere, John.
That needs to be the cover picture for this podcast.
Yeah. Me and Romeo Zondervan, me almost as tall as him. 1987, March 87, I think it was, maybe 88. So yeah, unfortunately we got beaten 4-0 that day, and that kind of sums up my experience of being a Town supporter. Not the lucky mascot. Was lucky enough to be at Wembley, which was still my highlight, and this win at Anfield and seeing us win at Ellen Road when Leeds were good. You know, I've seen a little bit of glory, but unfortunately I've also sat at Huddersfield away in January for a 0-0 Mick McCarthy sort of game. So, you know, I fell in love with Ipswich at the age of 10. So, yeah, been stuck with them ever since at the age of 46. I hope there's another 36 years of supporting Town still to come, and onwards and upwards. Come on, you Blues and all that. The only other thing I wanted to say, pleasure being on as always. Really good to talk to people who, you know, and it's great that we can have different opinions, and it's great we can have agreements. It's great that we've got different voices on. Well done, Henry, for a strong debut. Always good, and it was a pleasure through this pod, Ross. I've now met you dozens of times, And I met Harvey a few times, Bloomers a few times. Me and Harvey stood at the match together. I mean, that's credit to the Blue family that we are. So, you know, it's great to be involved in this pod in any way, shape or form. So thanks for having me on. And come on that 4-1 and all these bets I'm just starting to add because I might be rich.
So does Deb know about these? Does she know?
No.
She'll know. She'll know if you're in the money. You're in the money. That's when you
No. She won't know.
She won't know a thing. There we go. But John, it's pleasure as always. Bloomers, over to you, my friend, to end the podcast. Any other business, my friend? And yeah, how long has it been? You got an anniversary coming up of 20, 30 years of Sporting Club? Probably not 30 years. So you're not that old.
How dare you? It's no, I passed the 20-year mark. I mean, like Harvey, since I can remember, since I could walk and talk, there's pictures of me as a 1-year-old, 2-year-old with Ipswich kits on. My dad didn't give me a chance to support anyone else, but he is the only sort of real town supporter in my family. There's a mixture of West Hams and Leeds and who else? Well, my maybe soon to be brother-in-law is a Norwich season ticket holder. We won't go on about that. I've just had, through the magic of Soccer Base, I've just found my very first game that I went to, and it was on the 5th of April 1999, a 3-1 home win against Queen's Park Rangers, and Chris Kawamia opened the scoring for QPR. How about that? And then the 3 goal scorers that day for us were David Johnson, Jamie Scowcroft, and Matt Holland, which is a perfect encapsulation of that late 90s era of Ipswich Town Football Club. And yeah, a bit ever since. Had a season ticket holder since 2000. Went to Wembley, but I don't remember any of it really. Was at the Bolton game as well. Unfortunately, again, being so young, don't really remember any of it. Had to give up a season ticket 2016 when my travels took me to Stoke-on-Trent when I was living there for a little while, and now I'm a Balham-based Blue, goes to as many home and away games as I can. And also, actually, shout out to, if anyone knows anything about the London Supporters Club for Ipswich, it seems to have died a death. And I'm also too lazy to sort of restart it myself. So if anyone's got any info about the Ipswich Town London Supporters Club, and if I've just completely missed it, please let me know, because it'd be interesting to see how many town fans there are in London. I think there's quite a few of us. 2 very, very, very quick things. First of all, shout out to fellow pod member Bono, who directed me to this fantastic Ipswich blackout t-shirt. So you probably can't see it very well, but for those with the benefit of video, it's just a black badge on black t-shirt. It's the old school Ipswich badge as well, with some coordinates on the side here of Portman Road, which is a bit nerdy, but I love it. It's from theterracestore.com, not a sponsorship. So Ross, if your other sponsors get angry, send them my way, because I apologise. But I did want to say thank you, Bono, for pointing me in that direction, because for those of us who sort of don't wear a lot of shirts anymore, or feel like we shouldn't, it's a nice little sort of halfway house. And then very last thing, I think it's the best thing to end it on. Massive congratulations to Ben Diath, fellow pod member as well, and his brother Dan, completing the London Marathon on Sunday in a stupidly quick time. Ross, do you remember it or have it to hand, or anyone? Because it was
3 hours, 33 minutes.
3 hours 33. So that's, to put it into perspective, I did a half marathon the other month. That's not humble brag, because I did it in 2 hours and 3 minutes. So he would have lapped me. Fantastic. He raised loads of money already. I think we retweeted his fundraising efforts on Twitter. I think the pod channel did as well, but I think you can still donate. So if you haven't already, do it. The guy did amazingly, and he deserves all the beers in the world, because he went, I think, 2 months without having one.
Yes, Ben. Next time you're at a game, next time Ben's at a game, we'll all buy him a pint.
Yeah, we need decent pints.
Yeah, we'll buy him 3 hours and 31 minutes of pints. That is how much we're going to. Of course, as I said, he raised so much money for the Teenage Cancer Trust, and as he said, I'm sure you can still donate now. And yeah, it's just fantastic that the community we've made. And before we go, I just want to I want to get everyone's reaction here. I've just got a picture here. I'm just going to bring it up. I want to get everyone's reaction. Good old John Watson. I found it from our
That's the content we need on a Thursday evening.
There we go.
It must have been quite cold, because everyone's arms are sort of up towards their armpits. It looks like it might have been pretty nippy.
Yeah, that was my mean and moody look. Have you seen how tall I have become? Oh, it's quite embarrassing. But
that's exactly how he was stood at Accrington on Saturday as well, funnily enough.
Yeah. about 2 minutes later, I started shouting, "Pell, Pell!"
Amazing.
But yeah, if you of course, if you're watching this on video, you'll saw that picture, and I'm sure we'll have to put it on social again, John, so you can we'll put it part as the tweet, so you can see that. But well, Henry, Harvey, Jon, Bloomers, it's been a pleasure as always on the Kings of Anglia Fans Social. If you want to get involved, just like Henry, reach out at Ross Media UK or Kings of Anglia if you want to get your voice heard. You want to talk about your town and all that sort of stuff, the good, the bad, and the rubbish. As always with town, you know it's going to happen. As well, let us know. Support our sponsors at manscaped.com. Use the code KOA with 20% off and free delivery. And of course, New Warsies, Never Lost at Home Theatre, which I think is closing soon, but it's fantastic that's been supported by town fans. And also follow us on Kings of Anglia on all the socials, YouTube. I've got my new FIFA series going on, so you'll see me as a town manager and see how I get on. So if you like FIFA,
maybe we need you as Cook's assistant, Ross. Maybe that has been the secret ingredient that we've needed all along.
Possibly. If you've seen the series so far, I cannot defend to save my life. So maybe I need
you'll fit right in, man.
Yeah, I'll fit right in, definitely. But there we go. Thanks everyone for listening. We'll be back next week, hopefully, to talk about a win and look ahead to Cambridge away, the derby of the season, unfortunately. But there we go. Bye-bye for now.